And for the International Press Review today, I'm joined here in the studio by James Quidden. Hello to you.
Good morning, Marcus. We'll have a look at the front page of the International Herald Tribune to start with, and a very dramatic and moving photo of that stampede in Cambodia, which saw, I think it was 339 people die, and that was at a water festival in Phnom Penh. And that same photo is actually on the front page of the German Berlin-based daily, the Tagesspiegel. Hundreds dead after mass panic in Cambodia. So that photo is making, I suppose it is a very dramatic photo, and it is making the front pages of the newspapers. Now, also on the front page of Tagesspiegel, Angela Merkel intensifies pressure on Ireland. Ireland, indeed, is front page news all over Europe this morning. The Chancellor calls for bold reforms in Ireland. This was her spokesperson, who said, following the request to take billions in aid from the Euro Rescue plan, basically her spokesperson said, we insist on a rigorous programme of reforms. It's on the front page of the left-leaning French daily as well. The bankers hold up, and they're questioning, in fact, why European or French, German taxpayers' money should go to Irish banks. So a certain degree, they're saying that is a very contested idea. Could perhaps not the banks have, some European banks have coughed up some money? That's their left-leaning stance on it. We'll move to The Guardian, where it's also front page news. 90 billion bailout ends in turmoil. Why did it end in turmoil? As we've been seeing in the bulletin this morning, it's because there's a risk of imminent collapse in the Irish government. A junior coalition partner has pulled the plug, basically, as of next January. But there's even a question now that the government might collapse before a December 7th very important budget, which is very much a part of the talks with the EU and the IMF, a very austere budget. Which
many observers are saying without the emergency budget being in place, there will be no bailout, basically.
Right. It's kind of a quid pro quo, essentially. And indeed, we see on so this is what they're saying in The Guardian. Also in The Guardian, there's an Irish business blog, and apparently some people have been number crunching, and they're saying that this bailout could rise to 200 billion. Now, that's over twice the figure that is being reported in the press at the moment.
But this is worst case scenario if indeed banks are doing or will do even worse than they are at the moment.
But unfortunately, an awful lot of economists and bloggers have come up with the same figures. So it does appear that perhaps there is a degree of minimising going on in terms of a worst case scenario. Now we'll move to the Irish Times. The front page is on this, of course. Cowan, he is the Irish Prime Minister, announces early 2011 election. He'll be lucky if he gets that far, it seems. And indeed, that cartoon is showing his current woes. EU, IMF. I suppose we don't need to explain that any further.
Yeah, let's leave that expletive out to this.
Leave that as it is. And also on the front page, they're talking about a risk of the minimum wage and the dole payments being cut. This probably is part of that big December the 7th budget, if it ever gets passed. And that would probably be under EU, IMF pressure. If we have a look inside the paper, there's a view from Brussels where one senior source told the Irish Times correspondent that if there was a collapse of the government, it would be seen as very irresponsible. It would be very unpleasant if there was nobody to talk to. That would be very irresponsible.
So on all fronts, it seems as if international officials and European officials are really stepping up the pressure here on Ireland. Look, get your house in order.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, the public is just getting livid with all of this. And if we have a quick look at an article by Fintan O'Toole, he's calling for radical political reform. If there is a 4-year plan, he says that is the time in which Ireland will just have to absolutely reform its political system from the bottom up. And he says that the primary goal of the IMF EU package is to ensure that citizens cough up yet more money for the banks. So there is a sense, I suppose, amongst a lot of people that the people are being made to pay for the mistakes of bankers. And the viciousness that is about to be unleashed is summed up in the idea of slashing the minimum wage, says Fintan O'Toole. We'll move on to some other stories in the papers. Also in The Guardian, one more shameful betrayal, writes Peter Hallward from Haiti. Now, this is incredible stuff. Almost everyone now accepts, apparently, that the UN brought cholera to Haiti last month. Now, even the head of the Harvard microbiology department says that is probably the case.
Well, this is because the strain of cholera, or this particular strain of cholera, seems to be South Korean. South Korean. I've got South Korean on my brain. South Asian in its origin,
Nepal.
right?
So UN soldiers from Nepal came to Haiti in mid-October, I believe, and there was a cholera outbreak in Nepal, which was basically the same strain. And it looks like there was untreated waste going from where the UN camp was based on a river into the river, which caused no less and probably a lot more than 1,100 deaths. And basically, this correspondent writing from Port-au-Prince is highly critical of the UN for just kicking the ball into touch, and obfuscation, as he says. So pretty disastrous stuff you could do without that kind of help.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks very much, James Quidden, for talking through the international newspapers this morning. You're watching France 24.